Help support our coverage through Amazon Prime. Get free music with Prime Music, TV, movies, and documentaries with Prime Video, and free games with Prime Gaming. For this and a whole lot more, go to PLUGHITZlive.com/Prime.
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, good afternoon, and go ahead and introduce yourself and your company, and first of all, welcome to our coverage.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be at CES. I mean, it's a lot different from how we experienced it last year, and I'm probably not the only one experiencing this.
Yeah.
I'm Michiel Hulsberg, and I'm director of DialogueTrainer. DialogueTrainer provides a platform for online simulation training with communication skills training with an avatar, a virtual avatar, and I think we've developed a wonderful product to allow people to practice any type of professional conversation, ranging from breaking bad news to consultative selling to negotiating to motivational interviewing, just many types of conversations.
That's interesting. So I've been in business now for 15 years going on, and there's still some conversations that I run into like, well, I've never had this conversation before.
Yeah.
So you guys provide training on how to have that conversation, maybe in a way that's more positive than maybe what I would do in a setting. So is this mostly an on-demand product, or is this a product that people use on a regular ongoing basis for just professional development?
Well, both ways, of course. I mean, we develop learning environments, for instance, about a subject like giving feedback. For some larger organizations, Just Eat Takeaway, which is sort of like Uber Eats, but in the rest of the world. And many, if they want to raise the standards for the people cooperating, how they interact with each other, one of the things you can improve on is feedback. And we developed a learning environment where you can practice feedback related to coordination of activities, consumer service, personal effectiveness. And that's a kind of project that people tend to spend a little bit more time on over a period of months. And sometimes it's also sometimes people do a short course, which could be as long as just an hour. But
right.
But of course, as you've experienced, there will always be complex conversations, and we found a method to really map those conversations down to structures with the most important phases in the talk and the most important decisions and the effects of those.
So one thing that I always struggle with, and I'm just going to, maybe you can talk me through this, is we're now in the land of COVID and there's no trade shows going on, but later on in this year, there's some stuff scheduled that we're going to. So I'm going to have to get my team, who have really not been face-to-face with customers for 18 months, spun up and ready to do these face-to-face conversations, have these dialogues, answer these questions. So would your service offer, or would be a good outlet, be able to get the team retrained on basically conversations they'd have at a trade show?
Yeah, well, funny enough, of course, many of these conversations are sort of can be standardized. What those conversations will go like, but they are sort of, people become rusty over some time. And what you can do with a platform like ours is you can show them what a conversation feels like, help them recollect the challenges of those conversations. And as everything is digitized, you can actually measure everything that people are doing, of course. So if I train your team in talking to consumers again, how do you make contact, and what do you focus on, and how much do you put the attention on the other person? And as making decisions within this platform leads to scores, after your people playing, you can engage in conversations with them about their performance. And that's, of course, something that has become really difficult, I think, especially in times of COVID, for you to do, because you don't see your professionals perform most of the time. And now, as you have scores, there's always something to talk about.
And I think too, from my perspective, is I often want to know how that conversation went. And we recently did a few things to be able to have an ability to review some calls and stuff like that, and with the full openness that what was going on with the team members. But I think that I can often as a company owner say, well, why don't you do this, this, and this different? And sometimes that can become confrontational. But whereas if you as an independent come in and you have this independent professional, you're giving this advice on a day-to-day basis, it's oftentimes better to get advice from someone like you than maybe the boss.
Yeah, and even much better still to get it from a digital platform. And that's really quite amazing. I used to work when I was 18 years old. I started working as a training actor. And what I noticed all the time when interacting with people, I could engage in any kind of conversation with them and give them feedback afterwards. But they'd always be hearing it from me. And what we noticed with a digital platform is that if I expose people to the best practice routes and give them their scores afterwards, they'll always take those scores very serious. So instead of it being your approach, they're like, all right, I'm doing it wrong because I'm not scoring very high. And that's just super exciting. I mean, that's a result that we didn't expect beforehand. And of course, having an external person come into your organization and give advice helps. But seeing it on a platform and really feeling and seeing and interacting and seeing what happens, that's just much more powerful than somebody telling you things still.
Because I've been at events before where I heard something come out of a team member's mouth and I'm like, you can't say nothing. You have to keep your mouth quiet, but you're dying inside because, they didn't probably say it the way they should have. And you could have seen the expression because oftentimes we don't pick up on it if we're not watching the person directly, or we're not picking up in their cues. So I could see where this would be very, very valuable. So tell me a little bit about, how does someone get involved with Dialogue Trainer? And for those of you interested, it's at dialoguetrainer.com.
Yeah.
How do we get involved, or how does a company or individual get signed up for this?
Well, as with many innovators, that's a very there's many routes to our organization. We do actually also have customers in the US, but it's always a lot of the work still is networking with, especially as experts. For instance, we're working with the University of Maryland, and we know an expert there, Dr. Mario Dorovic, who also introduced us to a company or an organization in New York, ACS Workforce, where we're now able to develop scenarios, motivational interviewing scenarios for their employees. But completely differently from that, Samsung at some point was struggling with how they could train their people in their performance reviews. And then we came in and we started developing the scenario for them. And what happens more and more now is that we actually have scenarios ready that we can adapt to organization, and we sometimes don't even adapt them anymore. So there's a lot of online marketing right now, of course, is for many of us, I think.
So we could actually also bring you the scenario, and then you guys could develop the script or whatever you would use in that training environment.
Yeah, there's always something organization specific, especially in larger organizations. But you will have experienced that your way of talking to people, you're not the only one who is successful at this approach.
Right.
There will be best practice there. And at some moment, we will have something close to that best practice, and we can adapt it to your specific situation or organization.
Are you mostly B2B, or do you do B2C as well?
Yeah, we do some B2C. Of course, that we're also at CES, which is consumer electronics. So there's some B2C there, but it's mostly B2B, also because it's just easier to organize. I mean, we do provide consumer trainings for motivational interviewing, for instance, in care, or just basic cooperative skills. But it's mostly the organizations who say we want our professionals to be trained.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. I didn't even know this type of a service existed. So just on a personal level, you got my interest up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's fun to hear. It's good to hear. I mean, last year was lovely talking to 1,000 people at CES, but this year, I mean, it's still innovative.
Right.
So let's show the world more of this.
So thank you, sir, and definitely good luck with your year, and hopefully we'll see you in person at CES 2022.
Yeah, definitely will. And thanks for the exposure, and have a fantastic day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
So
I hope you enjoyed that interview, and if you did, make sure you check out some of the more than 100 interviews we conducted during the virtual CES 2021 coverage. And of course, subscribe here on YouTube, hit the notification bell to learn when we post new content and when we go live.